think we're on. Well, I'm glad y'all are here. My name is Sarah Welch, and I'm not a veterinarian. Everybody else is that's speaking. But what I'm going to talk to you today about is trusting the Lord no matter where He places you in your life. And no matter what you're doing, there's cause to trust Him and look at what He has given you. So I want to first tell you that I grew up in a family that we went to church every Sunday, and I learned about Jesus from an early age. And when the time, I guess probably about 4th or 5th grade, I had this Sunday school teacher who every week she said, she'd come in and she'd say, well, this last week I prayed about such and such, and this is what Jesus did for me. I'd be like, you can ask Him for things? You know, here I am in this Christian household, and I was like, oh, wow. So I would love to go to church just to hear what my Sunday school teacher had going on in her life. And so then by the time I was in 9th grade, I went to a crusade, and I asked Jesus to be my Lord and Savior. And so from that time on, then it wasn't the faith of my parents. It was the faith that of a personal relationship with the Lord. And I went to college, OSU, graduated in music education, met my husband, Paul. And we dated for 3 years, and for the first several dates, I could never remember what his major was. And I got to the point, I don't even know if you know this, I got to the point that I'd have one of my friends ask him what his major was. And it was because it was zoology with a pre-vet something, I don't know what it was, emphasis, I didn't know. And I was like, what is that? So I really, we had animals growing up, but I just really wasn't sure about animals. But when I was graduating in music, and when he decided to take a music appreciation course his senior year, I thought, if he can learn to like music, I can learn to like animals. So I do. I love animals. So anyway, he was in vet school, and it was his senior year of vet school, and I had this friend of mine invite me over. I worked for a doctor about 10 hours a day, and I had this friend invite me over for a makeover. And I got home from work, and I was really tired that night, so I called her, and I said, look, I cannot come. And it was in Married Student Housing, and she said, oh, and she said, I'm sick. But really, I was tired, and my face was all broken out, and I was like, I don't want to go. Well, there was somebody there, this Mary Kay consultant, and she said, well, who is it? Tell her that I can get with her later. So I heard that in the background. I thought, yeah, I'd like that. So long story short, I met a wonderful person, Jamie Wolf. She's here. She's been my friend for a long time, over 30 years, and I started wearing the products of Mary Kay Cosmetics and then started selling them. And so we left vet school, moved to Tulsa. I helped my husband in his veterinary practice for a couple of years. We had a couple of kids, and I got involved in a Bible study fellowship, and volunteered with that. And as I grew in my faith in the Lord, and my business grew, and I enjoyed raising our girls. They're now 28 and 29. One of them, the oldest, lives in the Netherlands, and the other one lives in New York City. God gave me all kinds of experiences in my life that have come together in the last about 20 years to be His effective servant. And so you may have, first of all, I want to know, how many of you have ever been on a mission trip? Okay. And so when you go on that mission trip, you are out of your comfort zone, and you rely on many things that God experiences, that God has given you through your life, and your frame of reference. He gives what you need to serve Him in different places. So The Lord is good, a refuge in times of trouble. He cares for those who trust in him. God's strength and power are available to those who trust him and not themselves. So when you are out serving him in another place, trusting him is so important. And I know I heard it from the Du Bois, and then from, is it Raquel? Is that her name? Trusting him is so important, and no matter where you are in your life. So the first point I want to talk about is trust in the Lord to call you. And there are several things that when you're thinking that the Lord is prompting you to go and do, and it may be something local, the first thing, how do you know if it's God that's calling you? The first thing is that you need to choose to do God's will. And so that's the very first thing. The second is recognize that there are different kinds of works that he calls us to. Some are achievements. Many of you are just graduating or in the process of going through vet school and graduating. So that's your achievement. He's calling you to be an outstanding veterinarian for him, one that loves the Lord and lives out your faith in what you're doing. Another kind of work is service. The third thing you want to do to figure out if it is the Lord that's calling you is to ask God to show you what work that he has for you, and then believe that he's going to show you what it is because you've asked him. The fourth is examine your heart. What is the desire that he's placed in your heart? I loved what the Du Bois said, that they found out about this opportunity for pigs over in East Asia, and it was like boom, and then 3 months later there they were going. I don't know if any of you were listening to that, but it was like, that is so true. If it's a desire, he's going to fan that flame. The fifth is to assess your qualifications. What are you uniquely skilled with? What are your abilities? What's your education and talents, experiences? What's your age? You just may be perfect for whatever it is that opportunity is. And number 6, watch for opportunities. Look for doors and gently push. And that's what they were doing when they were deciding about East Asia. They were just gently pushing on that door, and the door kept opening. Don't sit and wait for the door to open on its own. Ask the Lord to continue opening the door if it looks promising. And pray that God will close the door if that is not where he wants you to go. And he will. The next is to get some counsel from those that you know, who know you well, and that they want you to succeed in God's plan. And then expect a sense of peace and rightness. It may come from a verse. If you're agitated about it, just wait. In Psalm 37, 5 and 6, commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will do this. He will make your righteous reward shine like the dawn, your vindication like the noonday sun. So God called me. I'd been on a couple of mission trips to Costa Rica, and Paul told me that his friends, Mary and Richard Ballinger, had asked him to come over to Mongolia, and I was like, great, go. And he was like, well, no, I will only go if you go with me. And I'm like, no, I'm not going. I'm sorry. And Mary Ballinger emailed me, and she said, you know what? I know you do, Mary Kay. Why don't you pray about coming to Mongolia and doing beauty hours with the ladies? They would love it. And I thought, wow, beauty hours. So what happened is God began to work in my heart and create within me a desire to want to go. And I prayed about it for quite a long time, and finally I said, yes, Lord, I will go. And I had no clue what he had in store for me. Trust in the Lord to prepare you. So here we are deciding that we're going to go to Mongolia, and Psalms 9:10 says, "Those who know your name trust in you, for you, Lord, have never forsaken those who seek you." No one accomplishes anything for the Lord without being able to take a risk. We all have apprehensions about the unknown, whether it's going in for your test that you have no clue how that professor is going to test you on a certain subject. There are apprehensions. So some of the things that are helpful in trusting the Lord to prepare you is that you can ask, what is the culture? What works exactly will I be doing? If you can know that ahead of time, that's great, but sometimes you don't. Read all you can about the place that you're going so that you can know the cultural sensitivities. Talk with others who've been there. Talk with the missionaries who are there. This is the key, most important thing of everything, is develop a prayer team before you go to pray specifically for you while you're there. And I'm going to tell you about something that happened my very first trip to Mongolia because of my prayer team. Develop a checklist of your items to take, items to leave at home, supplies that you need for the work that you're going to do, supplies for the missionaries. And I really want to tell you that it's so important that when you're going somewhere, please talk to your missionaries and take what they need. They are away from everything. And we were talking with someone last night. Come in. We were talking with someone last night about when you are going and you're gone, there are certain cravings that you may have as a missionary, and if you can take that over to them, that is just all the better. And they're our great friends, Mary Ballinger and her daughter Sally. Okay. Also, in trusting God to prepare you, begin to ask Him for a willingness to be flexible. It's not, oh, Lord, help me to be flexible. It's like, Lord, will you make me willing to be flexible? Ask Him for His eyes to see where He's working and for a sensitivity to the different culture that you're entering, because we Americans are just straightforward and demonstrative. Some people are more quiet, but you still are different than a lot of cultures where you're going to, and you don't want to offend. And ask God to help you begin now to die to yourself and the things that you consider important in order to bear eternal fruit. And then trust the Lord to go before you. Now, this is an interesting picture. Why did she pick this one? Exodus 19:9, the Lord said to Moses, I'm going to come to you in a dense cloud so that the people will hear me speaking with you and will always put their trust in you. Then Moses told the Lord what the people had said. In other words, the Lord told Moses, I'm going before you, I'm going to take care of this. The Lord is going to go before you, and pray that He is already opening the door before you even go. And it's really great before you go to just write down specific prayers that you can reflect back on later when you get back home of how you've already prayed. This picture is the lady in the center. She went before us. The Lord went before me through her in getting all these different groups together. And so all of a sudden when I got there, it was through the help of her foreign advisor, Mary Ballinger, to get a lot of groups of women together so that when I went in, they were already there and ready. And there's this big schedule. It was pretty heavy. It was like there's no rest. Okay. So, yeah, get a lot of sleep before you go. Trust in the Lord to lead you. Proverbs 3:5, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. God wants your life to shine in the darkness, to flourish, and for you to always be refreshing to others. Your service in another place is an act of worship. Ask Him that the words that you say would glorify him. So I put this picture up here because what I do when I go, it's now developed thanks to Mary, but what I do is I introduce myself to whatever group I'm working with. I go through, I don't know if any of you have ever had a makeover with Mary Kay, but we do skincare and then color, and then we do compliment time. And then I show pictures from home. And then I share the gospel. Well, by the time I get around to the gospel, they already know me, and they've heard me talking, and they're willing to listen. The Lord has broken down the barriers so that we are there. So God is using the vehicle of cosmetics for a higher purpose. And so that's just like the entrance in the door. So when I share my pictures from home, I have already prayed that God will give me a sensitivity to say certain things. So this one time when I was sharing, and then I got to sharing the gospel, I talked about that God would never leave you or forsake you, and that although you could be surrounded by people, you could feel very alone. But when you have Jesus in your heart, he is not going to ever leave you. Well, I did not know. There was, after the session, this lady, beautiful lady, was standing there, and she was just kind of behind me. Well, of course, I don't speak Mongolian, and I'm like, and I felt this presence, and I was like, and there were so many people. I mean, there's a huge group of ladies that we did, and I had 2 translators, and both of them were busy. And I was like, this lady needs to talk. And so finally I got a translator over there, and this lady really wanted to talk with me and the translators. And so after everybody left, we went in the other room, and she was all alone. And although she was surrounded by many, and her story was heartbreaking. And to know that God led me to say that, you know, I just was like, I'm open every time to whatever God has me to say. And so it's exciting for that. Trust in the Lord to provide for you. Okay, now I'm going to talk about that prayer team that you have before you leave. You develop them so that they are praying for you. You're away from all the usual comforts of your home, and you really are totally relying on God, as all of you have been on the mission field know. So this one, the very first time we went to Mongolia, it was like we walked out of the airport and it was 40 below. And I have never had the inside of my nose freeze all the way up to, I mean, I was like, oh, this is cold. And it was like, I don't like cold. In fact, this room, I know it's warm for you all, but this feels good to me. And so it's like really bad. And so the very first morning that we were there, they took us in a van out into the countryside to play in the snow. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Okay, so this is me. I'm like standing there, I'm freezing, and they're making snow angels and sliding down the hill. And I'm like, well, I didn't, this was like about 30 minutes after we got there because I wouldn't even get out of the van. I was so cold. And Paul came, you know, he came to the van a couple of times. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Just close that door. And I sat there and I started praying, and I was, Lord, please, this is, I mean, I didn't come here to go play in the snow. I don't want to be here. And so I was like, help me change my heart. And so it was like, Lord, I really need to get out there and interact with these people. They're having a good time, and just help me. And so all of a sudden, I am not kidding, all of a sudden, and this was before any of this kind of stuff ever happened in my body, I heated up. I was like, whoa, this is great. And so it was like, wow, this is so great. So I got out there and just had a great time, and I finally actually did get in the snow and do a snow angel. But it was like, so when I got back home, there was this friend of mine who came up to me and she said, Sarah, this is so weird. One of the nights I woke up And all of a sudden, it was like, I have to pray for you to be warm. And I was like, you did? And so we connected the times, and that was the exact time that I warmed up in the van. So trust that the Lord is going to provide for you. And then also pray for joy as you serve, and pray that the Lord will bring to mind items that you have prayed about and that the others are praying for you to help encourage you as things get hard. I'm going to talk about something else. Well, I'm going to talk about it now because this is my verse. 2 Corinthians 12:9, and I think somebody else had this up, maybe just Raquel did. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses so that Christ's power may rest on me. And the next trip, we went out into the countryside. And how many of you were in that talk with the Du Bois? Okay, did you see the picture of the potties? I mean, that was nice compared to where we were out in the countryside, let me just say. And so really my idea of camping is the quality, and so it's really bad. So here I am in Mongolia, and I'm out in these circumstances, and there's no running water, and so there's not a place where I can just take a shower for like 5 hours, and and here I am doing makeovers with the women, and we have these bottles of water that are like, those real tall ones. Well, we have that, and I thought I had one for every day, and I had to do like groups of 15 3 times a day, and I just had this much water, plus my own drinking water, plus my own water to clean. And I was like, oh. And so it was like the loaves and the fishes. Trust in the Lord to provide for you. Because it was amazing how that water lasted. And the thing is, it got really hard for me after about the 3rd day. I was okay for the first couple of days, but then it was like, this is really hard for me, because I hadn't died to self yet. And so I just remember going into that lovely wooden shed out in the middle of nowhere, and it was nice because it had a door. A lot of them don't, but this one had a door, and just praying, Lord, help me. I'm really tired, and this isn't fun, but I know that I'm doing your work because people are accepting you as their personal Lord and Savior. There's a lot happening, but I'm really having trouble here. Boom, that verse. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made strong, whatever, perfect in your weakness. And it was like, oh, I am so sorry. It is not all about me. It is about you, Lord, and your bigger work. So trust in the Lord to provide for you. And not only will he provide prayer warriors, he will provide the right attitude. Okay, trust in the Lord for the results. Psalm 33:21. In him our hearts rejoice, for we trust in his holy name. Trust him to make the days while you are there fruitful. So now I'm going to just tell you a couple of stories. This lady, her name is, and I don't always say it right, Saranchandunga. The second trip out in the countryside, we met, so this would be my 3rd trip to Mongolia. We met this lady, and there was a group of ladies, and the team we were with, we did a Bible study and shared the gospel. And she was sitting on the edge of the seat as the gospel was shared, and she started just shaking her head. Yes, yes, and finally when it was time to say the prayer of salvation, she ripped off her scarf, stuck it in her little pocket right there, and she went like this, and we're like, all of us were like, oh, she was ready. Wow, she had this she was like the matriarch of the community, and she had all kinds of seeds planted, and we were just there to take the final, reap the harvest there for others that had planted and watered the seed. And someone had given her a Bible, and she had read it and wondered, how can I have this? And it was clear once the gospel was shared, this was how. So that was in 2007, and I mean, she got on a motorcycle with her grandson and rode away. Well, not often does God let you see what you've done in a place, but here it is 2010, and we went through this area, and we stopped, and we got to see her again, and it was so exciting to see her. And because of her, that community of believers has grown, and she wanted us to meet her friends and share the gospel with them. And she has been instrumental in building their first church there, and so it's like the first church, and it's just exciting to see, all because of this sweet lady. So that was an exciting story. Here's another neat story. And my first trip, I stayed in the capital city, Ulaanbaatar, and that's when I was having I do that all the time, 3 a day. One group in the morning, one in the afternoon, one at night. So these ladies, these are professors at the vet school there in UB, and they came. And they were very tough-minded, and they had fun with their makeovers, but then when we got to the gospel part, they were not open. And we sat around and drank coffee or tea and had some little bread things, and they asked all kinds of questions. And they kept asking questions, and they were offended to think that Jesus you'd have to have a sacrifice. And there were deep questions that they were asking, but the Lord had prepared me through all those years of study, through Bible Study Fellowship, that I knew the Bible and I knew all kinds of answers for them. If I hadn't have had that, I wouldn't have been able to talk. And we talked through the translator, Undra, for probably an hour and a half after we finished. And this was in the evening, and they, had things to do, I know. So I understand that one or two of these have become believers, but it was years and years. So that is an exciting result, that I was on the front end of helping plant seeds. This is another story. This was the last time we were just there, a year and a half ago. And we went to this community that is new for VetNet, and here's my translator, Pagma. And this lady is the school principal or school manager. And she had been kind of open to VetNet coming in, but then all of a sudden we did all these makeovers with all her teachers, and the teachers, it was like during school, and the teachers got students to watch their classes so they could come and do makeovers. It was like crazy. And so all of a sudden, like this room, it was all of a sudden even more full, and people were like standing. There were no places to sit, and they were all wanting to. And so then I shared the gospel. Well, at the end of my presentation, then this lady, she had gone out of the room, and I thought, oh, she's mad, because she's in church. Well, she came back in and presented me with this book of their school and a pin of their school, and just honored me in this way. And then she took us, there is another Mongolian, she took us around the school and showed us everything. And the other translator that was with us told us that she had been resistant to them really coming and using their school and doing things. And now she was so excited and proud of her school. So sometimes you are just the catalyst for the higher work of the missionaries there, and you want to respect what they are doing and come alongside them and help. Sometimes it's they just come to see this weird person from America. These are 3 girls that were on one of the teams, when our team went out on one of the trips to the countryside. And these 3 girls we stayed in a school dormitory on the floor, so these girls lived at the school dormitory, and they would come in and hang out with us in the evenings. So we really didn't do anything formal with them, but all three of them, by the end of our stay, prayed to receive the Lord. And it was exciting because I got to go back and see, as we were driving through, and she heard that I was there and from across that little town, and she came running into the place where I was. I was just there for about an hour, and, just hugged me, and it was really neat to see her a couple of years later. Okay, this is in Costa Rica, and Paul and I went to Costa Rica. We've been there several times on mission trips, and this lady, Doña Magdalena, and her grandson, came to see us when we came back through 10 years later. It's probably 10 years later, and it was so great. She is a strong lady in her church. And I put this in because when we stayed in their home, he was young, and he I don't know what his life is like, but sometimes you don't know the results of what you've done, and you may never know. And there was a language barrier there. Even though I speak broken Spanish, I couldn't figure out enough about him to know. But I put that in to tell you that sometimes you do work and you see just a little glimpse. And God doesn't always let you see the results of his work because it's his glory and not yours. And we're not to touch his glory. So, but to continue that, I'm continuing to pray for that family. And then this story, this man right here, this grandfather, he, well, not that guy, but he takes care of all of his grandchildren. And this team, we were out in the countryside, and we found out that he and his wife are believers, but they didn't have enough money to make it through the winter. Well, as I said, the winters are very harsh in Mongolia, and our team, we had not taken much money out in the countryside, but we wanted to provide as much wood as we could for this man and his family. And so there was another lady who had an illness, and she didn't have a husband, and she was a believer, and so we provided with $45, $45. We provided enough wood for both of them for the whole winter. And so we were just so excited when the truck came up and dumped the wood, at the lady's house. And we never did see the wood dumped at his, and they're not houses. They're just like tents. They're called garrets. And we never did see this. Well, so we went back several years later, and she, it was her friend, was with us. And I guess the translator told him who we were, and he came over to me, and this was like 5 years later, and he just started going like this and just, and I was like, don't touch my hair. And he could not stop because of what our team had done. And he was so grateful, and he started crying, and it was like, oh, Lord, you have allowed me to see that something where, $45, that's 9 Starbucks. And, for 9 Starbucks, this man's life was preserved with his family because we did this. And it's just amazing what you can do, just something little, for God's kingdom. Trust in the Lord for the results. He uses you no matter what you do. So I graduated in music education, but I've never taught, only just private flute lessons. So one day we're out in the countryside, and our translators come in and they say, Sarah, come in and teach this English class. And I'm like, what? And so I'm like, what do I do? And so I taught them the song, and this is the day that the Lord has made. And so I taught them an English song, and it was just like I didn't know what I was going to do, but the Lord provided. He led me, and I trusted in Him for the results. So so then it was like every class wanted to learn this song. So all these kids know this song in Mongolia, and half of them don't even know that it's a song about the Lord. But the Lord's name is being sung in Mongolia because of that. And then I put this in because the last place that I've been, this is actually an OB-GYN's medical office. And she opened up her room. Look at, I mean, they are crammed in there to do makeovers. And this OB-GYN was so excited to have these health workers come in and do makeovers. So I just did my little routine. I, introduce who I am. We do makeovers. I show pictures from home. I share the gospel. And those that want to pray, they pray. And then what the VetNet team does is they follow up. They give the Bibles. They start the home groups. They do all of that. And so there's more involved than just me doing my little song and dance. But this OB-GYN, I guess they had wanted to get into the medical community, and she was very open to this presentation. And so whatever it is that God has given you in your life, He will use for His glory if you will allow Him to lead you. And then I think this is my last story. I want to tell you about this lady right here. We were having a dinner together. This is the principal of the school, and he wanted to eat with the team. And so in our little school dormitory, we made this makeshift. It's actually pretty beautiful. Pagma and what's her name? Siggy. Put that together. So anyway, Pagma goes, Sarah, share something. I'm like, okay. And so I start just telling a little bit about my testimony. Well, I didn't even know what to share. Well, I told them about being raised in a Christian home and the example my father set, that he was a medical doctor, and he would go to all these different functions, parties, and all kinds of things in my little community of Enid, Oklahoma, and he never, ever had a drop of alcohol. And he set that example, and he was well respected, not only in the medical community, but in the community I lived in, because he stood up and did not drink alcohol, even though everybody else did. He stood for what he believed. Well, I had no clue. I mean, I hadn't shared that any place, and really hardly any time. This lady was the in charge of the school dormitory, and she had, and I told her, I said something about 8th grade. Well, her son is in 8th grade, and evidently they've had a hard life. I guess the father is no longer around, and he was really, big in alcohol. Well, that evening she came to Pagma and Segi, and they shared the gospel with her, and she accepted Christ. It was because that I told about the alcohol, and she wanted to make sure that her son saw an example. And so when you are open to the Lord's leading, and the only way you can do that is if you are in the Word, praying, and you are in tune with the Holy Spirit, then He is going to bring to mind, and you are going to be confident in whatever He gives you to use for His work. Because it was like, I didn't know why I was sharing that. I was just sharing it. So I have this open. This is the Mongolian Bible. The Lord is good, a refuge in times of trouble. He cares for those who trust in Him. So believe whatever God is doing in your life, He's going to use it for His good. And thanks for sitting through this hot. And we're out early, so if y'all have questions, we can do that. I can answer anything. Okay. Well, y'all can go to lunch. Thank you.
what would you say on, you guys are veterinarians, but you've got spouses, and using spouses, what was your feeling when you're going, I don't need to be going on a veterinary trip?
Oh, yeah, I didn't, because, yeah, that's his deal.
I feel the same way. Why am I going? I don't know anything about it.
It is true. And in fact, I felt inadequate speaking to a group of veterinarians since I'm not a veterinarian. But, you know, God will... I say that when I started to pray about it, then God gave me a realization that he had a call for me also besides my husband. Because I'd just as soon hide behind him anyway, because he's great.
I have a little story on that.
Okay.
I went on this trip in summer, and a girl brought her boyfriend with her, and he was just a farmer. He just wanted to go for fun, and he ended up giving great advice to all the farmers down in Honduras. And he was like, I'm just going to be there just to help build stuff, whatever, be a guide. But he ended up helping more than I can't give any farming advice, so he was actually really helpful. So.
That is, see, there's the testimony. That's awesome. Really cool. Yeah, God had that little niche just for him.
Well, on the other side of that,
yes.
What was going on in Mongolia before...
I'd like to have you... Come up, Mary Ballinger. Yeah. Yeah. Come up.
I didn't want that whole time.
She's on the front line. This is Mary Ballinger, if you don't know her, and she's a veterinarian over in Mongolia full-time, but just back for a few months here.
And our daughter Sally, who lived in Mongolia for quite a few years. Anyway, so Paul and I are classmates from Oklahoma State vet school here many years ago. So Paul contacts me, and we're emailing back and forth, and, you know, he wants to come, and of course, he'll be working in our small animal clinic. And then he says, but Sarah wants to come, what can she do? And, you know, I don't know, because I knew that you didn't Mary Kay and Bible study fellowship, and I'm like, well, I know she can teach a lot of Bible studies, and I don't know about Mary Kay. So I've really been praying about this, and we've been communicating back and forth, and so about, I don't know, several weeks into this, Manda comes over and sits down by me and opens up her big purse that all Mongolian women carry, and she gets out her powder, and she starts powdering her face. And I'm just looking at her, and I said, so if somebody came over here and did like a beauty hour makeover or something, would you girls like that? And she goes, what's that? I said, oh, so you don't even know what a beauty hour or makeover and cosmetics? No, what is that? So I explained it to her, and she goes, oh yeah, every Mongolian woman loves makeup. So I get on email, and by the time these two came, and we're picking them up at the airport, everyone, sorry Paul, was so excited. And Paul, he was like, I know, I'm just a lowly veterinarian. It's all about my life. And so they've been such a blessing in every, I mean, you guys have come 5 years. And so Paul, you know, such a blessing to the small animal clinic and to the business end, to the veterinarians, and then the whole country is so excited when Sarah comes, all the women, because she just, you know, it's all about makeup and beauty and inner beauty and God. So anyway.
That's cool to know the other side of it. See, God is working, and we don't even know it.
And actually, Rich and I speak a lot of different places, and we always use you guys as an example. For exactly what you were saying, you know, when you do have a spouse that wants to come and feel called to short-term missions or long-term missions, you know, that spouse can feel awkward. Mm-hmm. And I'm married to a spouse who's a non-veterinarian, and he, you know, has felt awkward. But he doesn't anymore because, mm-hmm. you know, it's very clear what his calling in ministry is, too. So, anyway, I just wanted
That is awesome. Thank you, Mary.
I also thought it was interesting. One of the early slides in there was Oyuna, girl in the middle, and then all her friends around her. And it was interesting. Even if you're over there and supposedly a missionary, Oyuna was real uncomfortable with sharing the gospel with her friends. You know, it's easier to go across the world and share the gospel and not share it with your high school friends. And Oyuna, those are all of her friends that she invited, and it was like, Sarah, can you tell them about the gospel? Why don't you tell them? Sarah, can you tell them about the gospel? So sometimes you're the one that's going over there just to help out or something like that, you know, and it was an interesting go-between there, I thought.
It was.
Because I always think they're the big strong. No, they're just like us. They just happen to live in different places.
The funny thing is Mary was saying, all Mongolian women like to make up. Well, we were out in the countryside, and these women they have, you know, hard lives, and they're out in the elements, and their skin is so much, you know, leather-like, and it's like, you know, to have them put on those soft lotions, it feels so good and soothing. But, you know, when you get to eyeliner and mascara, they all wanted it, and I'm like, are you kidding? I was just shocked because, you know, I could understand about the lotions, but it was like, whoa.
How about the drivers?
So we get back in from the countryside this one time, and I'm doing a group of just VetNet women, and there, how many VetNet, 60 or VetNet Mongolians in the organization. So these women were in there, and all of a sudden this translator comes in, and she said, Sarah! I'm like, yeah. And she like kind of interrupts our little session. The drivers, they want a makeover. They do? Okay. Have them come in after this one. So there were 6 guys that just walk in, and they sit around the tables, and I teach them about skincare. And then I gave them some stuff for them, and then for their hands and their just lotion. And then I gave them stuff for their wives, too. Take home to your wives. But I was just shocked. So then I think I did 2 groups of men, because they saw that first group, and then there was another group of men doing this. Like, washing their faces.
Oh, but you know, Mary Kay mirrors.
No.
This is America.
We have products for men too, but I didn't take them. But I may do. So. Well, thank you all for coming. That's fun. I'm in Mary Kay, so I order. Oh, but to take over, I have all my consultants and director friends donate, and so then I take over like 2 huge trunks. You know, there are these plastic trunks at Walmart in the automotive section, big black ones, and we just take those 2 full ones full of stuff, and then I just leave it there, donate it. And so what I do is I package it up in cute little bags and do little travel size of things, and every woman gets something. And so it's really fun. Yeah. And of course everybody wants to donate to help out.
Yeah.
So it's really fun. I'm done. Thanks.